Welcome to the Mind Your Wedding Business podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 30 years ago. Each week on this podcast, you'll hear thought-provoking and empowering interviews with wedding professionals who have found success in the industry. If you're a business-minded wedding pro who loves love, but also cares about their bottom line, buckle up and get ready to learn from a new industry expert each week. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. We have Julian with us today, and Julian is a second-time guest. Those that know me very, very well know I used to drink iced tea like it was water. Like literally, I replaced water in my life with iced tea. And on the last episode, Julian got me to stop drinking iced tea. So, Julian, I'm here to tell you, I still, every once in a while, I have an iced tea if we're out at lunch, but I do not drink it anymore like it's water. So, thank you for making me a little bit healthier from our last episode.
How could I?
And everyone's still shocked. Everyone in my family, everyone that knows me is like, what? You don't, like it was just like a crazy habit I got rid of. So, but today we're here to talk about a lot of other things. But Julian, before we jump in, I'm going to have you reintroduce yourself to everyone for those that may be new and don't know who Julian is.
Of course. So obviously my name is Julian. My name is Ribinik. It's hard to pronounce and read, getting a lot of typos here and there. But I'm a wedding photographer for the last 17 years based in New York City. And we work all over, including Europe. And I also happen to be a health coach and help wedding professionals with performing better, with not being tired, with not suffering from extra weight, and just doing better job and better business for themselves.
I love it. And I feel like in the wedding industry, that's the one thing that all of us, vendors, creative partners forget is taking care of our health. And that's one thing I love to see from your Instagram. You're out there taking care of yourself. So good for you.
Have to.
Yes, we do. All right. So here we're going to talk about why some vendors cannot break their ceiling and complain about lack of work. And that's a topic that I've been hearing a lot when I've been working weddings. Just different folks complaining, about don't have enough weddings, or all of a sudden I don't have weddings on Saturdays. I only have them on Fridays. There's all kinds of complaints going on out there in the wedding industry. So when you proposed this topic, I was like, you know what, this is going to be a good one to dive in with Julian. So I think I thought about it a lot when we were going through it. And I think a lot of it starts with someone's style or online presence. So how does that, lead to the clients they attract?
So I'll backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
And give a little, background for people. A lot of us are in different communities online and doing some networking. And I noticed that lately there's a lot of those posts in different groups, and it doesn't apply specifically to photographers or anything like that. There are groups for all vendors that people complain about, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, and I'm in the business for 20 years. Last year was horrible. This year is horrible. And I'm doing everything and things don't work. People call doomsday. People say the wedding industry is doomed. And when you look at what those people do, they are not necessarily doing correct things, right things, or maybe they're doing something that was working 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago when they started, essentially. And now those things don't work. But we are very old-fashioned as is. And we are like, if my mom said this, bone broth is good for health, then it has to be. We stay in that track and we do things that maybe are good or maybe are harming us. But we strongly believe that doing what I was doing before is necessarily good. And nowadays, in the age of visibility and the age of different generation, we should be really paying attention to what is out there, what other people do, but also what we do that is not the right behavior. All right. And everyone has an Instagram now. Mm-hmm. Everyone tries to get business, and people put out there things that they think are good and it might be harming them. Mm-hmm. So I really want to say like one big thing that is probably cliche by now if you're listening to things and reading things, but for most people, it's not obvious that you literally attract the things that you put out.
Mm.
So if, and we just discussed it with Kevin, if you're putting out sports, if you're putting out cute puppies, and if you're putting out your own kids on Instagram or rustic weddings and you complain about lack of luxury clients and city weddings, and look at what you're putting out, because people are paying attention to what you put out and they measure you, but what's on your Instagram page, what's on your website.
Mhm.
And people are not going to scroll through your feed, through your grid for 2 years back to see what you actually do. People do not page down on your website too much if they don't like the first thing that they saw. You have like
Mhm.
3 seconds to capture their attention. And if the last thing that you did is not corresponding with your ideal work, well, hell, this is what you're going to get. And if the person who went on your website likes cute puppies, they will connect with you for sure.
Mhm.
But you're not going to get that luxury wedding in Italy or Cabo that you're looking at
Mhm.
getting. And I'm guilty of this. Not going to say that is negative thing, but I'm guilty of this. I did really beautiful bat mitzvah very recently, and it's on my feed, and it's one of the first posts. And I just sat with the amazing wedding planner for lunch,
Mhm.
and we started talking, and we've been in contact for like probably 6 months, something like this. We started talking about things, and I brought up a wedding, and she's like, "Oh, you do weddings?" And I literally have 1 or 2 posts on my Instagram that are mitzvahs.
Mhm.
But this is what comes up first, and this is what person pays attention to.
Mm.
And I did maybe 20 mitzvahs out and 500 weddings, but this is what the person sees. So we cannot blame others for them not seeing what we do if we're not showing that.
Mhm.
And if you are looking to shoot dark and moody weddings, do not put light and airy photo that you did in Italy at the style shoot.
Wow.
If a person is in New York, for example, right? And in New York, we have a lot of very dark, very moody, hard to shoot at venues.
Mhm.
And to anyone from New York, like Cipriani and New York Public Library, the Plaza, they all will not be light and bright. None of it.
Mhm.
People who looking to shoot, like to do weddings at those venues, planners who want people to shoot weddings in those venues, people or planners who want a florist or floral designer to decorate wedding in that venue, they will look for that. They will not look for your wedding done on the beach and decorated with like very beautiful pink and white flowers. Because if this is what you do, you are telling, I'm not from New York. I might want to be, but you are not from New York. You don't know how to behave in dark venue, and you certainly don't have the experience, even if you ever been there.
Yeah.
So we definitely attract what we put out there. And yeah, this is to start. If you guys want to do weddings that of the certain style, do not complain about not getting them. Go and get those weddings. You can do work for free. You can assist someone for portfolio to have that. And definitely, and like, I wanted to talk about it later, do not use styled shoots for that, because
Mhm.
anyone can see right through that.
Yeah, I think they really can. So, all right. So, how can a vendor move from a booked event schedule that makes them feel uninspired to landing their ideal client?
Legwork, legwork, and legwork, and and this is not something that people want to hear. Really, like back in the day, it was very easy, especially if you are not in major hub, to put out work, to be first on Google and get up there. And it might still be correct for some small place. It's very hard to be on the radar for anything that is large, LA, New York, Chicago. It's really hard. There are other people there, not tens, there's thousands of other vendors who want to be there. And there are people who spend a lot of money on SEO. That said, SEO not necessarily will put you where you want to be, because nowadays people want proof.
Mm.
And the proof is in actual work. So doing the set style sessions, doing all those collabs that are not real work, they might land you jobs
Mhm.
of people who really don't do research. They might land you jobs on the lower side where people do not see that it is actually styled shoe, that this is not real. But people who are real, people who pay attention to little details, they will want proof, and the proof is show me the work in this and this and this venue. Give me recommendations of people who did that. Show me reviews and show me work behind the scenes, which usually is not being put out. Meaning, how many vendors do we see that put out actual work during the real wedding? And it's very easy for me to put out and drop someone under the bus, like photographers and videographers. If I am choosing my second shooter for the said Cipriani wedding or Gotham Hall or something that is really hard and dark, I don't need pictures of a beautiful bride and groom, very much styled somewhere outside or even inside. I'm going to look for your worst reception work in a dark venue. And most of the time, you don't see it on any website. And I'm saying that after being burned a couple of times. 2 or 3 years ago, when I really needed a second photographer, I went and asked the community. And I was recommended a couple of people that I knew in the network, but I never worked with them or saw their work. You go on Instagram, you see there's Vogue, there's Tatler, beautiful work, 15,000 followers, 25,000 followers. At this point, I have 6. And you say, oh, that person must be good.
Yeah.
I did go with social proof, meaning people told me this person is great. I met that person a couple of times. They're great. And not saying once, twice I did it. Hired person, went to a wedding. After the wedding, you're looking at the pictures from reception. It's horrible. And then I realized that I never looked at their reception work. And when you look at the reception work, for one, it wasn't existing. And the person actually moved to New York a year ago. And the second person said, well, I'm really only doing it for 6 months. And I invested a lot of money in style shoots and ads.
Wow.
And we're talking 15,000 followers. So I wasn't smart enough. But if we're looking at someone who is in the hiring position, working with the planner will see right through that. And we all now know, especially with all that backlash, that if you have Vogue, and this is not a celebrity party, a couple, it's paid. I just got an email from Tatler with 4th follow-up today in the morning asking if I'm ready to move forward with an ad. But guys, it's really important to understand that you can go and do beautiful styled shoots. You can do very invested ads. But when you're doing the actual work, and people do not see the consistency, they will not recommend you. They will not put your name forward, be it a client or a planner, and you will not move forward with anything. And this is why we see a lot of people who have beautiful portrait portfolio with different publications on that, still complaining all the time about lack of work, because that is not enough. What is enough is being really trained in what you want to do. And if beautiful outside portraits is what you want to do those weddings and you'll be great at that. But being in unpredictable situations with bad lighting is bad for photographer.
Yeah.
For florist, you really need to know how your designs will look like in certain lighting and how they will photograph. So you cannot put outside work of in Mexico on the beach and say, I want to have a New York or even Miami venue inside, because it's not going to look like that.
Yeah.
And it comes back to, you want to do a lot of free work. You want to find people who want to help you or you've clicked with to go and do free work, cheap work in the situations and conditions where you want to work, so you can consistently show that work and understand that people do not hire people for nice pictures.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. So a couple of things you said, legwork, made me think to lots of things that you did, but also it's also, you need to get out there and get your education. So like when I started my business, I went out and I worked, I got contracted out to do a lot of AV work, because that's something that I wanted to build, and get more like during the week corporate work. And so I got paid half of what I should get paid, but I was working at the big venues, and the big places in San Francisco. And I was working with, famous clientele. Like the very first event I ever did for him, Bill Gates was one of the speakers, so like instantly I'm like, oh, wow, this is a different level. But it was also, I considered it education. Like I was learning how to handle clients. I was learning how to do things. So I think that's part of what you're going with, is that you got to think of it as education, and not that you're just doing it for free. And I think you got to, like you said, you got to put in the time to get what you really want.
Correct. And doing those things is definitely education.
Hmm.
Because when you go to the conditions and situations and the venue you never worked at, and you want to do good work there, you have to learn. You have to learn how to do it, how to work with conditions. But not only that, if you want to work in a certain venue, you need to know people who work at that venue. You need to know how to operate and conduct yourself. You need to
Hmm.
understand how to dress. You need to
Yeah.
understand how to behave with these people, with this kind of clientele.
Hmm.
Because even when you're getting on the call with clients that you want to work with and they don't feel it, you're done. And it
Yeah.
takes time and it takes understanding. And guess what? Not everyone will be a fit,
Yeah.
because maybe you don't dress the way like you need to be for that. Maybe you don't speak like that. Maybe your language is not, you know, I don't want to say elevated, but like it's different.
Hmm.
And people like people who are like them.
Yeah, I agree. Something so back to the legwork that resonated with me. It also I immediately thought of relationships, and so I know you work really hard because I watch on your Instagram. You're involved with WIPA, Merge. You're out there working, and networking and building your relationships. I mean, is that a lot of it too? Is like where people are really getting to, like getting people to understand what you do and referrals and all those fun things that come from relationships.
Absolutely. And I think that networking is everyone's radar.
Hmm.
People like hear, oh, you need to go network, and they sometimes try. A lot of people try. Problem is that people expect to get work from going to event
Hmm.
or being a member somewhere. But just like in life, everything is a relationship. And the important part is that it's not that you need to network to get the work. You need to be a great person to work with. You need to be
Hmm.
a great friend. You need to care about others for others to even think of talking to you. I would say that my networking career is very short. It's probably 2, 3 years. But the networking part of it is not for networking.
Hmm.
When people go to events and they like, I'm going to find that planner or that florist or that venue sales director or owner, whatever, and I'm going to talk to them and give them my business card, they already made the mistake. They should
Hmm.
just stay home.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
the second you do it, you will be, oh, that another guy who wants something from me. And that's a problem. So I really like, I did consulting in a couple of like coaching sessions on networking, and people like, tell me how to attract people so they work with me. Like, you can't. If that is your intention, you will never be that person. Like if the second you come to group of people say, hey, I am this, and like, what do you do? People already don't want to work with you
Correct.
right away, because people are not there to get new contacts. Or like if we're talking about planner doesn't go to networking event to find another photographer or another makeup artist. They have plenty. They don't need anyone. What they do want is to connect with people, to have good time, to enjoy it. So if you're going to events, go to enjoy the events, go to get education, go
Hmm.
to listen to what others do, go to study from them, and maybe you will make friends. And if you make friends, they might want to be around you. And we shouldn't aim to talk to certain people or talk to people of certain category, because if you do that, you are there for business, you are very transparent. And even though this advice sounds like a business advice, it is not.
Hmm.
It's just like with relationships. Like you don't want to work with a person who doesn't have your back. You don't want to work with a person who you don't know. Hell, at this age, like even a plumber for my house, I had to go through a lot of things and to also understand he's a nice guy,
Yeah.
right? And people used to not care. I want to know that he'll be okay with my dog, okay with my kids, and just I can trust the person around.
Yeah.
If someone is going to give you work, you really need to be someone people can trust. But people are very smart. So if you try to earn the trust by doing dirty things, well, there's plenty of people on the market. Everyone knows how not smart people look, how bad people look. And there's, again, like a lot of bad actors.
Mm.
If you want to have great long-term position in the market, just go and make friends. This is like, I think this is the only thing that will do things for you.
And you're so right about that, because there's people that walk around and they just start handing out their business card to everyone, and your people are going to take it and probably throw it in the trash, because they're like, at the end of the night, they're like, I don't even know who this person is. Why
A
why do I
second encounter a trash can for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Why do I have their business card in my hand? But it's about, I have a theory, and I think there's a lot of truth to my theory, but I really think it's a 2 to 3 year, and like you were saying, your networking career, you're 2, 3 years in, but I really feel it's like end of year 2, year 3 is when you start seeing, the fruits of your labor really come to fruition. Your people have made contacts with you, you've developed relationships, and then they know that you're a good person. And then that's when they'll start, all right, they'll give you a little piece of business here, or hey, maybe I can work with you on this project. And then before you know it, you're in like Flynn. And back in the day, we when networking is kind of, unfortunately, in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, it's kind of dead right now, Julian. And so,
I'm here.
but back in the day, we would go into the city, and there would be a group of us that would all go in. And one of the wineries here is very famous, Winter Vineyards. And like literally people would walk up to the girls, and we would almost like make a joke out of it. How many times is someone going to walk up to you tonight and go, how do I get on your preferred vendor list? Like the first
Oh
words
my
out of
gosh.
their mouth, you're not, by saying that, it's just, but anyway, so a lot of truth in what you just said there. And I think people don't realize when they join a group or join an association, they're in it, they got to have a long game. And if you're in it for the short time, then you should never, like you said, never even come or never even go. So
100%. Like what I want to kind of mention that when you go into these events, people come to rest and enjoy. They're not going there to talk shop, unless it's some kind of like very low end group that like this is the only, let's all meet and network, which you will not see in like luxury market at all.
mhm.
People have plenty of work, believe it or not. People are busy, and when they are not, they have other things to do. They are not coming to seek to help someone. When you coming in and you are desperate and like, I need work. No, people understand that you actually are not there to be in any relationship, and people will turn their back on you, and you will be upset that, oh, like everyone here is a like bitch, right? For the lack of a better word. I think the relationships are everything. And I want to kind of say, take it outside of the wedding industry. Think about friends and relationship you have outside. How did you get friends? Was it by being kind of like, hey, I want to be a friend and I need help with something, right? It never happens. Did you ever got a job because you came there? It's like, I need work. Like if we worked in corporate and you got work, or begged someone who doesn't know you to get it. Did you ever get good grades in school by asking for good grades from the teacher? Or did you get a degree by just paying your way through in the college? No. Every single thing requires work, and sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. If you study, you might get results. If you go on and trying and pushing for work, you will not get results unless it's some kind of very low end work. And we are in the business not doing that. I mean, I get it. There are vendors who are working in a very different realm, and there are venues who will, you want to get on the list. Sure, like give me $5,000 and you're on the list. By the way, it doesn't guarantee work still, but that industry exists, and I'm lucky enough to never to be there, but I hear it all the time. But if you are someone who is constantly complaining about these people are not giving me work and the clients are ghosting me, and and people at the venue don't want to talk to me, look at yourself, look at the mirror, say, am I genuine? And you really want to be their friend, or do you want something from them? And then flip the mirror and say, like, would you give anything to a person who just comes for you for something, and they don't really care about you? And everyone will say, no, of course not. So like, don't be that person. When we go out with industry friends, we don't talk about work altogether. And one of my first rule, like, never ask a person what they do, because it's not going to serve your purpose at all. Go rest, relax, have a drink, talk about whatever. Because why? Because in this industry, we are working hours that are not realistic. We're working days that are not normal. And we really do lack human connection.
Yeah.
So I'm going out and having fun on the weekdays when other people work
Hmm.
at industry events because I purely enjoy it. I love my industry friends. I love to hear good education and I hate to hear bad education, right? Like all of us. And we kind of creating this life for ourselves because this is our circle. This is our life. And if I'm going to give work to someone, it's not going to be because they are an amazing vendor. It's going to be because I trust them, because I know them for a long time, because we have a great connection and I enjoy being around them.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's so many great planners. There's so many great designers. Everyone is an amazing photographer. Everyone. Every DJ is an amazing DJ if you didn't hear 10 of them playing and could compare.
Yeah.
And no one compares, right? You like what you like and you don't know what's better unless you tasted the better thing. But you will be inclined to give something to someone who you have any good time with, who you
Yeah.
can trust with, and who you don't need to talk shop with. And if you think about that, then most of people should just drop their networking altogether and go run ads and hope for something. And others be human and treat others like you would treat yourself.
Yeah. It's funny. I always joke that, working a wedding is like going to war, and you want to have your friends and everyone that you can go to battle with because, you don't know what you're going to encounter on the day of a wedding day. And, like, Julian, if we're working together and I see that you need help moving a bag because like I'm going to come help you, kind of thing. And vice versa. You see the photographer struggling or florist struggling to get some flowers up a elevate, whatever it is. And you're like, that's my friend. I'm going to go help, because I can, kind of thing. And we're all in it together for team couple. But in the end, you have one bad creative partner vendor on the team. It just makes the day long and hard, and you don't want to even be there.
I love that you're saying that because we are all partners.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing an event for a couple, I see a lot of time where vendor comes, they are by themselves, they are talking within their team, and like oh, it's maybe the same person, and they are trying not to be with anyone else, and they
Mm-hmm.
do their work and they go home. And then they complain that no one is liking them, that they don't have work and things like that. Or they complain about other vendors doing something to the client or to them.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that if you are doing the wedding, you are not an island.
Mm-hmm.
You are part of the team if you want it or not.
Yeah.
You can either make it better and have a team relationships, work together, give the best service to the client, best experience to the client. And guess what? You will have the best experience as well. Or you can be that grumpy guy who complains, oh, we didn't get the food on time. Who cares about the food? The planner was screaming at me. Did you do everything that you need to?
Yeah.
Were you on time? Where you should be, right? The floor is left garbage. And like we can complain about many things. The
Mm-hmm.
DJ didn't play the music long enough for me to capture enough of the dance.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you can't anticipate, but maybe also can't communicate with DJ.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a wedding, a month ahead of time, reaching out to the client or to the planner, and I'm getting all the list of all the vendors and I connect with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And the great part that at this point, at least in our area, I know most of the vendors. And I'm like, hey, we're doing this wedding together. Great. And for newer people, they will be so much better. Like Kevin, you just mentioned like going to war
Yeah.
and being a team. But if it's a team and you know people and you're friends, you're not going to war.
Yeah.
You're going to have good fun, great fun. You're going to enjoy that day and maybe you'll be a little tired, which I can talk about hours too in a
Yeah.
different situation. But it's not going to be a war. It's going to be a great day, and it's all happening because you're treating others like people and not like vendors
I
or enemies or
well,
competition.
yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. It's if we all go in there with a positive attitude and we are on team couple, like then we're all gonna get through it together. And like I'm not in there with my own agenda. You're not in there, like I can think of like a photographer that just literally took a couple out of the venue and went because they found a tree down the road that they wanted to do a portrait photo with them, but never told anyone. You know what I'm saying? So like they're not on team couple and you're going to make the venue mad because they don't know what's going on. There's so many ripple effects that I don't think people realize when they're working together. And it's just like, be nice, be friendly, let's work together. and then it's you're excited when you see that person. You walk in the room, hey Julian, good to see you. I'm excited to be with you. Like and it gives you good energy, and it brings you good where you're going. So anyway,
100%.
yeah, yeah.
100%.
And
It's
that's where I think a lot of people really, really mess up in our industry. It's the negative stuff. So
they do. There's certain podcast, I'm not going to mention the name, but it's very, very known one,
mhm.
not in the luxury industry, where people constantly bring up different hot takes and different issues and like kind of showing in every possible way why they cannot work in a higher end industry without realizing that.
Mm,
They bashing planners, they talking about vendor mails, right? They talking about venues that not treating them right and things like that. And all of that shows how much not a team player you are,
mhm.
which it's supposed to be an opposite. If you go to a normal gathering, no one is bashing anyone.
No,
No one is
no,
complaining about
yeah,
anything. No one says, oh my God, I need to work all those long hours and my feet hurt. And I did say once and like wrote something about like, well, like when I was 90 pounds more, I also had, leg aches and I was tired and whatever. And now I'm not like, and they kicked me out. But bottom line is everything that is happening to us is a self-inflicted damage.
yeah,
And there are very easy ways to fix them if we look inside and not outside.
yeah. All right. So speaking of negativity, what are some things that we should avoid posting on social media, or things that, you would turn down because you want to attract that, ideal client? Like what are some of that negative stuff that we should avoid?
Well, I can probably build a very long list of those things. But for example, right, like I see a lot of vendors, and by the way, it doesn't pertain to photographers, guys,
Hmm.
or DJs for that purpose, since we are from those, right? People say, look, I only have 2, 3 dates left this year and fully booked for that year, booking for 2027. Now, you will never see busy people posting those things.
Hmm.
You only see people who trying to show that they're busy. But guys, no one cares if you're busy or not. And people see that you're desperate. And if you're showing that you're desperate, they will not give you, because if you're desperate, you're clearly not good enough. People who want to have destination weddings posting a list of destinations they're traveling to this year or next year, or like, this is my travel schedule. And yet in their portfolio, you don't see any of the destinations.
Really? Oh my.
And there's plenty of that, right? I'm doing this, I'm taking uh, creative vacation in Italy, Spain, whatever. But all you see is some wedding in the field in Oklahoma repeating itself, and some style shoots, right? People, when they have no work, they post like taking a Sabaton
Mm,
or sabbatical. But again, it might work on some very low end client. And then you will have to post photos from that very low end client wedding, or keep on doing those social media posts.
mm.
Other things, people who are, instead of being helpful to couples, writing some negative things about industry.
And there's a lot of that going on right now with all,
And
like,
there's so much
yeah,
that is going
yeah.
on. People who are complaining about others using ads, or
Hmm.
saying, oh, like all this British Vogue, it's all paid, so you should be aware of that. And if you see, and then you go to their portfolio, and guess what? What they have? They have British Vogue too, right?
Hmm.
They're just frustrated that others do get jobs.
Mm,
People who post off list what they don't like about other vendors.
mm.
And again, there's plenty of that. Things like, well, and I'll go for planners who write things like, like there's venue coordinators and there's a planners, and vetting coordinators from the venue. They will not do this and this and this and this for you.
Yeah.
Guess what? People from that venue or any venue will think of you as a planner
Yeah. No.
afterwards,
Yeah. Negative.
right? Good planners don't complain about those things because they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Those things, like those venues with Koreans, they're not their competition. Photographers who complain about videographers who complain about content creators, right? DJs who complain about content creators, photo booth people who complain about DJs because DJs sell photo booth. Be better. Show your difference.
Yeah.
It's all about you, and it's not about anyone else. If someone else is getting your job, they are better at something, better marketing, better at social media, selling it, better person, whatever, but it's not them, it's you
Hmm.
who cannot do that.
Yeah. So true.
Vendors who need to justify their price by writing out what they do on social media. I worth more because I have this and this and this equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I spend more money on education. Like, no one cares what you do. Absolutely no one. Not other vendors, not the client, unless it's someone really, really low end. And then they don't care about anything else but the price.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, if the only difference between the other vendor and you is the price difference, or at least this is what the client sees, then you are not good enough because you're really not bringing anything else to the table. You need to be different. You need to stand out. And it's very bitter truth that people do not understand this, but you are not going to be higher end vendor because you are so much better as an artist or a vendor. Because if you look at work of 10 planners or 10 photographers or 10 videographers with DJs, it's even harder because you cannot see it. You can listen to something, but you need to actually experience 10 DJs at the venues, at the event, at a certain point to say, this is where the value is. This is why they are better.
Yeah.
You can't. So most of the time, people who are getting the job, people who are doing higher end work, those are people with better communication skills and who provide better service to a client.
And I also think it's people that develop relationships with other people, because then, like, say I'm in your market and I'm going to be like, you have to work with Julian. Oh my God. I think you'd be a perfect couple for Julian. And sometimes that relation, or that, what I just said there, will seal the deal. Like, they'll go find you because they've built a rapport with me, and now they're like, oh, he's referring me to him. That there must be, something great there, and you could tell that, like, that happens to me when I'm meeting with clients, and I always ask them, like, hey, where are you guys at? How, where do you need help with any other, vendors, or, what are you working on? And sometimes they'll go, oh, I need help with a florist. All right, tell me a little bit what you're looking for. And then I'm like, here's 2 or 3 that I think might be good for you, and send them on the way. And I get, and people love it because it's relationship, but then it comes back to you, but also it's just, you're helping the client out and you're putting together a good team,
100%.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not available or cannot do it or don't want to do it, recommend someone else too.
Yeah.
Do not walk away. And it's a very bad mindset of a victim and very scarce person. When people say, like, I'm busy on this day, but I'm not going to recommend anyone else because they are competition.
Yeah.
The amount of work I get from other photographers is insane.
Yeah.
And in my couple of first 2 years, I was kind of, I'm the shit, pardon my French. I'm the artist. No one is better than me. Doesn't exist.
No, and I think it's healthy to have great relationships with your competitors, because if you, like, for that, what you just said there is, if you're booked and you can't work anymore, well, I'm going to refer X, Y, and Z, and hopefully when they're in the same situation, they're going to send it back, and it just, you're building a good community that way.
Yes, and not even for that. Sometimes, and more often than we can guess, we need help. We need a replacement. We need someone else on the team. Do you want to work with someone is mediocre or not good one, like in their profession? You want someone who is the best on your team or instead of you.
Yeah.
And if people don't like you, or you're not liking other people, you will have no options. You will be out of them. If I'm searching for second photographer now, or if I need a replacement, or I want to have someone white labeling me, I want the best, and I will pay even like losing money, but do the best for my client. And this is just normal.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're getting to the end, so we got to wrap up. But I wanted to ask you, as we wrap up, what other suggestions do you have for someone to increase their presence to attract higher price point clients?
Be relatable for those clients. Be relatable for people who bring that work. Understand where your client comes from. And here's a shout out to Sam Jacobson. We need to know how to talk to a specific person. So at first, you need to understand who is your ideal client. And I hope that in the higher end industry, you really know who is your client. So for example, I can say that my typical client is a doctor, a lawyer, a finance person that parents are paying for their wedding. I can easily say that because this is the majority of my clients. I know what attracts the clients that I like in our work. And it's not necessarily work too. I know what attracts them in my behavior, how to act near them, how to relate to them, how to talk to them. You can't want specific niche client to work with you if you saw them on the picture. Go where they are.
Yeah.
Read what they read. Listen what they listen. Wear what they wear. Understand their values. Learn about those people. Know to have the conversation with that people.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just cannot be in the same circle and no one will work with you in that circle for that specific reason. Right. So it comes back to do the legwork. Everything that you want to excel at, you need to study, and doing your specific work is just a little piece of the puzzle. You want to be a part of that circle as well.
Good advice. All right, sir, I can't thank you enough. I feel like we could have talked about this forever, like, because it's so relevant in what's going on right now with everyone in the industry. So I really, really thank you for bringing this topic to us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I really, really, really do. But one thing I've been asking people lately, I'm going to throw you a little curveball here, is what is your favorite app you're using right now for your business, if you have one?
Wow. I would have to look on my phone what I'm using the most, because that would be on my screen, because I don't remember. Is Instagram the right thing to say?
Yeah, Instagram's fine.
I would say this, that, and it might be a surprise, but since the age of or era of networking for me, Instagram became crazy busy. I wake up to a ton of messages, a lot of following there, and a lot of communication. And the other would be Superhuman. It's an email client with built-in AI that I think the strongest part of it, that it will never let me forget to reply to an email or follow-up. It creates automatic follow-ups if it recognizes that you are waiting for something or you promised to send something. It creates automatic draft and it pops up, and you really cannot miss it.
Wow.
The only downside is, like, if you really didn't mean to write anything, and it learns your language. So I wouldn't recommend to use automated replies at all.
Yeah, I agree.
You will have to alter them because they sound horrible, but having that reminder that you actually need to follow up, need to send someone that you promised, this is a game changer.
Wow, I love it. I'm going to look into it. I love right now, I love all the AI stuff, because it's just about saving time. And like for you, it's like you were saying, it's like, remind me, help me, and it, especially if it even writes out a little blurb or something, that's really, really great. So, because then you can change it, put it in your own tone, and then eventually it'll learn your words and all that as well. So
that's absolutely game changer. One thing that I do want to bring is my pet peeve right now. I see so many posts on Instagram and social media that from the first sentence, it's clear they just put it in ChatGPT, wrote it, copy pasted, and it's horrible.
I agree.
And the more you do it, the more people will see it, because the more people who use it will see through. So guys, write authentic stuff.
I agree. All right, Julian, how do our audience get a hold of you?
Very easy. I am at Julian Ribinik with all eyes on Instagram, and you can find me on www.julianribinickweddings.com.
All right, perfect. And we'll have all of Julian's information in our show notes. Julian, I can't thank you enough. You're one of my favorite people to interview, so I really, really enjoy having you on here with
Happy to be here.
I really, really appreciate it, sir. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time on Mind Your Wedding Business. Bye, guys.
You guys.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business, brought to you by Wedding IQ. If you've got a topic you'd love to hear us cover, or if there's an area of your business you're struggling with, let us know, and we'd be happy to help. Don't forget to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're a fan, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and left a review. It helps more wedding pros find us and learn more from our guests too. Thanks again for listening to Mind Your Wedding Business. We'll catch you next time.